It is Monday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6/12/2017. I am your host, Frank Dashwood, so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And a lot of interesting things been going on recently. As you may or may not be aware, there's been some ICOs just proliferating out of the woodwork. And one in particular, Bancor, had a recent launch. And so I found a whole bunch of articles about that, and that seemed appropriate to talk about today, because it's timely, you know, it's something we're interested in, new developments in crypto and whatnot. And it was most certainly a very productive get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Monday. Although unlike a lot of other Mondays, today I felt pretty strong. I did get armbarred, but you know, the guy was really good, so you know, it happens. But for the most part, you know, I was putting up some solid defense today. You know, I'm wearing a little bit of gi burn from one of my more agitated partners today, but you know, hey. It's not ballet, kids. Not everybody does it. You know, I got to keep reminding myself of that. You know, I'm constantly training with these guys that are way above my skill level, and so it's like, you know, to some extent that I feel like they're handling me because of my inexperience, or probably being a little bit generous. You know, letting some opportunities slip and whatnot. But just the same, you know, I feel like I'm starting to kind of hold my own a little better, but you know, who can tell? It's all relative in the long run. You know, it's like if you're running with people that are about the same athletic ability. You know, they've got the same cardio capability and whatnot as you do. You know, it's kind of hard to tell whether or not you're progressing, because you're all kind of moving forward at the same pace. You know, until you get into another situation where the other person that you're against isn't in that same pack. And then all of a sudden there's always some skill differential, whether or not I will prove to be victorious over somebody in that situation, I don't know. It's for the fates to decide. But in any case, seeing as we are going to be talking about Ethereum today, I thought it only appropriate that our first dance for the day should be Pure Ether by Prong, here on Coin Metal. And that was Slipknot with The Blister Exists. And, yeah, you know, the whole Ether action is kind of feeling a little blisterish at this point, but there's a number of reasons for it, and it's all easily attributable to any of the factors. You know, could it be, you know, scammery, flim-flammery, people that actually mean to make good on what they say their ICO is all about. You know, all of these are possibilities. You know, there could be manipulation from unrelated parties, you know, that just look at the ICO and say, hey, you know, it looks like a good place to either lose some money and count as a business loss, or make some money and call a windfall. You know, one or the other. Hey, we win. But you know, could it also be things like monetary escape? You know, we're seeing in China where they're wanting to put in capital controls, or they're trying to put in capital controls. And, you know, and we're seeing Bitcoin being used as an escape valve for that. But, of course, the transaction fees have been climbing through the roof because of this additional traffic. And that's caused people to be looking to other cryptocurrencies to move their monetary value with. And thankfully, you know, it's a good effect. You know, it's had good effects for us here at Verge Currency. You know, we've seen a significant increase in our hash rate on our network, and also a little bit of appreciation on the value of the coin. So, you know, these are These are happy effects. But that's not to say that all of the investment going on out there is necessarily people that believe in the projects or are even interested in them in any way, shape, or form. They're a roulette table for some people, where they just look at the money that's on the table as potentially their money. And they do their little games and whatnot to try and facilitate that. Personally, I don't go for games. I look at the chart. I try and read what the chart is telling me, about the general tendency of what's going on in the market. And sometimes I eat shit. I give you an example. I should have sold at the peak. I did not. I held. Why? Because I'm not interested in like a one-time profit. I'm interested in holding my volume until it's really, really, really worth something good, or it goes flat. One of the two. It's a crapshoot either way. But I'm not gonna not invest because I don't have a crystal ball. Just the same. I'm doing okay with what I've been doing with Verge, but I'll be completely blatant about it. I've been accumulating. I think that the potential for Verge currency on the horizon, especially in the wake of what I see almost certainly to be a loss of funds that will cause some SEC consideration of us, creeping into the regulatory space. But it's really bullshit. There really is no need for it. If you get into this space and you're just throwing money at the fucking thing because it says ICO at the end, fuck you. I don't give a fuck if you lose your fucking money. Fuck you. Too fucking bad. It's the same fucking problem with people at the .com bubble. It had period .com at the end and people just threw money at the shit. And they lost their fucking money. Oh, too fucking bad. You should have done some fucking homework. I say it every single show. At the end of the show, number 2 is do your fucking homework. If you're going to invest in this space, know where you're putting your fucking money. Who are you supporting? Is it just a bunch of kids that are going to piss it away on crack and fucking hookers or in boats and hoes or what? Or is it somebody who's actually got a plan, who's actually got a vision for what they're trying to achieve? And is what they're trying to achieve in the greater good of either crypto or humanity in general? Because we're not talking about tools just for like one little group of people. We're talking about, in some cases we are talking about groups for finite interests and whatnot, but in the greater scheme of things, we're really trying to map the ideal kind of monetary standards for the future. Whether the nature and number of them is determined by any kind of governing body or the criteria for them is ever determined by a governing body, that's going to be for the future to decide. But I can say unequivocally without a doubt, no matter any kind of conditions that are set up by any regulatory body, no matter how draconian and how capable they are of making it publicly felt, making their demands and their requirements publicly felt, there will always be cryptocurrencies that are operating entirely out of their control, entirely out of their knowledge. And it's with that in mind that I say, fuck it, man. Let the fucking future, roll those fucking dice. Let's see what happens. If these kids follow through and they actually achieve what they're trying to achieve, and it does turn out to be good for everybody, then everybody wins. If you're a banker, you want customers that have money because then they'll put money in the bank, right? Well, if we don't have any money, then we don't have a reason to open a bank account, right? And really, the future, as it's looking right now, as it's been created by the regulatory morass that we have to deal with, and just trying to start business and whatnot, it's made it prohibitively expensive to even entertain the venture. I mean, it's one of the reasons why cryptocurrencies are so hot right now, is because it's one fucking release valve. You've got all this creative potential, and it's dying to be expressed, and it can't, because it walks 2 steps and it runs into a wall of red tape. And then they cut through that, they get some loans, and they buy their licenses, and they pay their bribes and whatever the fuck they need to do to get through that step. And they walk another 2 steps, and they run into another wall of red tape, and got to cut through that one. And it's just not, it's beyond expectation to have to deal with all that bullshit in this digital age. We just don't need it. And with regard to cryptocurrencies in general, we will find out in the short and long term exactly what constitutes scams. And we will find out the hard way through experience. There's no federal regulatory board that monitors your every footstep and ensures that every footstep is going to be successfully going to touch on the surface that's intended to throughout your life. Well, you know what? There's no federal regulatory board that can stop you from malinvesting your funds. It doesn't exist. It never will exist. People will malinvest their funds. So rather than trying to be mommy and daddy and end up throwing a bunch of people in jail who have no business being in jail, and hampering this fucking innovation in transferring monetary wealth around, rather than doing all that bullshit, let's just skip over that part, because that's going to be about a 10-year cycle. And I've said this repeatedly on this show, that no matter what happens tomorrow with regard to crypto, in 10 years, we will be right back here, right in the same exact place that we are now, where cryptocurrencies are back to being unregulated, because the regulatory morass will have cost us so severely. It will have created honeypots, the likes of which have never been seen, and they will get compromised in ways that have never been seen, and that data is going to be utilized in ways that have never been seen, and we're going to learn a fucking lesson not to do that again. Or we can avoid all that. That's I would rather circumvent all that business. Because we can see it coming. We can see it coming. It's completely obvious that about 70% of us are going to get replaced by AI or fucking robots. One of the two, because it's cost effective to do that. And so what are we going to do? If we maintain the current grip, we're completely pushed out of all the manufacturing sector because we just can't handle the regulatory burden. We're no better than being in a prison, because Microsoft and Google will be your fucking reality, or Apple, and it feels like that's what they're kind of trying to jockey for and whatnot. But I don't think the world is going to be content with that. I don't think the vision of Steve Jobs was enough to encompass us all. And I think that his biggest mistake was this whole authoritarian attitude. I remember seeing in the movie about him that's like a kind of a documentary kind of film. I think it was Pirates of Silicon Valley, or one of those, where he's tripping on acid and they're sitting out in a field, and he's got his hands up, and he's looking out over the waving grain, and he's imagining that he's directing all the waving grain with his hands, and he's gonna dictate to everybody. No. When he left or was booted out the first time or the second time or whatever the fuck, it was in the 90s, and Apple was kind of floundering for a little while. But one of the things that they did that was the smartest fucking move, and it saved their fucking ass and changed the PC on your desk forevermore, there was this barrier, and when I say a barrier, I mean it was a tentative barrier. There were ways around it that were utilized in more industrial machines and whatnot. But there was a 66 megahertz barrier on the throughput of your motherboard, from your processor to your motherboard. And so there was this really smart thing that Apple did. They opened up their licensing to where they allowed clone manufacturers to sell Macintosh computers. And this was something that they had not done before. But what ended up happening is about 5 to 10 companies took this challenge on and ran forward with it. And by the second or third year, they were blowing Macintosh completely out of the fucking water with their sales. They created like another 2 million Macintosh users that just had never been there before, because the machines were just too fucking expensive. If you wanted an Apple computer, you had to throw down $5,000, and that was just for the computer. And then you had to throw down another $1,000 or so for the fucking monitor. And then if you wanted a decent printer, you had to throw down another $1,000 on that. Okay, but when they opened up their licensing on their operating system, I bought my first Macintosh computer. Or my only Macintosh computer, I should say. It was a Power Computing Power Tower Pro. And it was awesome. It blew the fucking doors off of every Macintosh that I put it up against. And until the Pentium 3, I think at 400 megahertz, a Pentium 3 caught up to it. And it was only a 220 megahertz processor. But the point being is that there was this little innovation that power computing did. And it was among 3 innovations that were addressing this caching issue. And so, or this throughput issue. And so, power computing, they came up with the processor cache. You know, when you buy a processor now and you see how many I guess is it gigabytes now? I don't know. I haven't looked at processor cache sizes in a while, but anyway, that cache that's meant so that multiple threads could go out at 66 megahertz, and so it made the apparent throughput on the board go way the fuck up. Your processes went from the processor to either your video card to back to your processor to your your hard drive and whatnot, way faster, because they have way more channels to go through at 66 megahertz. But like I said, the relative throughput went up, and they've gotten better about that since. But the point being is that innovation, there was like 3 of them. It was like the inline cache, the backside cache, and the front side cache, or the bus, or is it bus or cache? Cache. I want to say it was cache. But anyway, those 3 came out of Macintosh computers that were built by people like you and me in their garages that were trying to start off like Apple Computer did. But Apple Computer's own regulations up until that point prevented that from happening. Now, just imagine how much further Apple Computer would have been ahead if they had an open or semi-open licensing process before that, like Windows did. I think we would be way further ahead than we are right now. But again, that regulation, it does something for us to set standards. But, setting standards, that's the first step in my mind anyway towards centralization. Because after you've set the standards, then it's just a matter of competing to get to the best of those standards as quickly as you can. And it's not always just production, and it's not always quality that's the determining factor there. And I think that's where things get lost. is when we start sacrificing quality for getting it out to the customer quicker. And so I think that's one of the advantages with cryptocurrencies, in that a great deal of the shit just runs on regular hardware. You can download a wallet to your PC, you can download a wallet to your phone, you can download a wallet to your tablet, and you can do cryptocurrency transactions with it. I hope it always stays that way. Anyway, speaking of flim-flammery and what exactly is in the blister that exists that we've come to know as Ethereum, I've always had my own reservations about Ethereum, and those were enunciated when Herr Vitalik waved his magic wand and said, "We will roll back time to fix my fuck up." And don't get me wrong, I tip my hat to anybody that's developing in the crypto space. Anybody. Even Vitalik Buterin. And the reason being is, it is a fucking Wild West out there, man. You're fucking with money. And it's not easy. Anyway, so I came across this guy's article, and this is written back on September 11th of 2014 by Mr. Michael Goldstein. And the title of it is, "Everyone's a Scammer." Now, if you were in crypto since 2014, you probably already know this. It's like a lesson that's been kind of like emblazoned on the back of your eyelids and shit. But I think it's worth venturing into. And so here it is, Michael Goldstein's "Everyone's a Scammer." There's a war going on. Bonnie and Clyde cannot simply rob First National blockchain. They hack servers and unencrypted wallet files or scan low-entropy brain wallets, but the cost of obtaining bitcoins hoarded on a high-entropy, password-protected paper wallet, for instance, are incredibly high. A computer cannot be expected to brute force the wallet in the universe's lifetime, so a trespasser would have to employ expensive tactics such as kidnapping and torture on any prospective individual target. Criminals, con artists, and swindlers cannot rely on violence to get the wealth they desire. It has become too cumbersome. The scoundrels must rely on good old-fashioned market forces. And it's working. Bitcoin is poised for exponential growth, so the opportunity costs of not being involved to the highest personal degree possible are incalculable. Yet merchants, investment peddlers, and other hoarders have been able to convince countless Bitcoiners to part with their future riches. Despite the obvious downsides, given you have a long enough time horizon to see the coming post-fiat world. They'll tell you something is vital, or they'll tell you spending is vital, that Bitcoin 2.0 will be even better if only you give them some of your Bitcoin 0.9, or that your Bitcoins are worth only $475 a piece. They'll tell you this with a straight face, the wringing of their hands unseen across the internet. And once you have fallen to temptation, they'll leave you on your own to learn there are no backsies. In the realpolitik of the blockchain, everyone is a scammer. There is a war going on for your bitcoins, and willpower is your only defense. Endless scammers everywhere. Bitcoin is a dangerous place. There is an endless list of hacks, scams, and thefts. Bitcoin promises a network with distributed trust. You know why? Because other Bitcoiners exist. Not every Bitcoin scammer is merely an amoral businessman or investor. Many are outright fraudsters and con artists. When you buy a rug from Overstock, at least you actually get a rug. when you send money to Ethereum, you may actually get a worthless Ether token eventually. You know what you probably will never get? Your Butterfly Labs pre-order or your Gox Bucks. Some scams are pulled off by convincing other Bitcoiners to not take advantage of Bitcoin's value proposition. That is, they convince Bitcoiners that while they shouldn't trust third parties, this guy is totally cool. I'm looking at you, Mt. Gox. Others convince them to play investment games that turn out to be Ponzi schemes. Sup, Bitcoin savings and trust? Some scams are the purest synthesis of Bitcoiner avarice and stupidity. Ponzi.io explicitly marketed itself as a Ponzi scheme, promising to send you back more Bitcoins coming from the pockets of the next investors. Have fun. Their address, blah blah blah, received nearly 350 Bitcoins. Some scams are outright malicious. Scammers have resorted to malware and ransom. CryptoLocker infected computers by encrypting their users' files and only gave up the private key if a ransom was paid in Bitcoins within 48 hours. Sound familiar? Scammers have resorted to blackmail. On September 8th, a hacker gained control of Satoshi Nakamoto's email account, using it not only to deface the Bitcoin SourceForge page, but to allegedly find out Satoshi's true name. From a Vice article, after inquiring what the hacker was trying to get out of all of this, he said Bitcoins, obviously. But don't forget the lulz. Scammers have also gone to the trouble of leaking nude photos of celebrities to get some Bitcoins. Scammers will do whatever it takes to increase their Bitcoin holdings. You know this. You scammed someone to get yours. You probably did not outright defraud or hack someone like the above, but you necessarily took advantage of their short-term thinking. Merchants are scammers. At long last, Newegg accepts Bitcoin, along with Overstock.com, Tiger Direct, Dell.com, Expedia, and other retailers and websites. Let's go spend all our Bitcoins, right? Not so fast. Let's wipe off the drool from looking at the shiny toys and think this through. Merchants have absolutely every reason to accept Bitcoin. BitPay recently removed all fees for payment processing, including currency exchange. Not only can merchants receive payments without fees, but there are, of course, a litany of other benefits, from no fraud or chargeback to easy international payments. They can pass on their savings to customers or increase their profit margins. They also can and should hold on to Bitcoins as their accounting permits, so as to earn profits from future price increases. After all, if Bitcoin increases adoption for payments, there are only so many units to go around, so each one will become more valuable. So merchants are in a good position. They can save money on their business, and they can try to purchase Bitcoins with retail goods. Just as many purchase them with dollars or euros. If I were a merchant, I would most certainly encourage people to shop at my store in Bitcoin. I might even try to convince them, despite its fallacious economic reasoning, that spending Bitcoin at my store is actually good for Bitcoin. Certainly more than you saving and speculating on them. After all, it could become worthless overnight, and its future depends on it. Because I say so. I might even say things like, my shoppers are among the first wave of Bitcoin users and we're thrilled to accept the cryptocurrency as a form of payment. Just like you, we also believe Bitcoin can be the future of digital currency. But if you've been saving it and hoping it will make you rich one day, you're better off spending it if you want it to succeed. By me, I mean Newegg. Their recent blog post is called Why Saving Your Bitcoin is Not a Good Idea. The reason? it means you aren't spending it at Newegg. Most merchants even choose to immediately sell the Bitcoins they receive. They scam you out of Bitcoins they do not even want, uninterested in the future value of the network. Merchants are scammers because they lead you to believe that your Bitcoins are only worth the price of their retail good in order to allow themselves, or even those to whom they sell the Bitcoins if they choose, rather than you, to benefit from the future Bitcoin price increases. And that's a good thing. This is not to say merchant adoption is bad. In fact, from the hoarder's perspective, merchant adoption is great. First, merchant adoption means that there is more demand for Bitcoin, that the Bitcoin network is growing, and that Bitcoin is thus more valuable than it was yesterday. Second, merchant adoption means there are more places to spend Bitcoins. This does not mean a hoarder will actually want to spend Bitcoins. More importantly, he can spend Bitcoins. Demand for cash exists because there is uncertainty of future needs, and the holder of cash believes he will come across currently unknown opportunities in the future that can better satisfy his needs than any current opportunities. When an opportunity exists that he believes benefits him more than the same cash can get him in the future, he is able to seize it. As Metcalfe's law shows us, the value of a network increases exponentially with each additional node. With each additional merchant, there are more potential people to trade with, and thus more potential opportunities to satisfy his needs with cash. Of course, these benefits to the hoarder does not require merchants to accept Bitcoin. Given the right infrastructure, Zappo debit cards, for instance, give the hoarder the ability to use Bitcoins on existing credit card networks. This means hoarders can already use Bitcoin as their unit of account, whether or not merchants even know what a Bitcoin is. The more Bitcoin can be used as a method of payment, the fewer dollars hoarders must begrudgingly speculate on. A risk they typically only wish a government agent... my apologies here. A risk they typically only wish on government agents and skeptical economists. Thus, the primary advantage of merchant adoption is that your average balance of Bitcoins can go up. You don't need to buy dollars in anticipation of making dollar payments. Instead, you can replenish your Bitcoin hoard after you make Bitcoin payments. Between merchant adoption and debit systems, Bitcoin becomes a more valuable good to hoard. Good news for Bitcoin. Investments are scams. Bitcoin is exciting. Look at the static wallet file and balance is not. Looking at a static wallet file and balance is not. Instead of holding and forgetting, many Bitcoiners choose to put that money to use, and endless crypto peddlers are ready to snatch your Bitcoins up. They'll offer you mining contracts, present their plans for a hedge fund, or entice you into investing in a Bitcoin company. Today, the most popular investment vehicle for Bitcoiners are Bitcoin 2.0 schemes, ranging from Mastercoin to Ethereum. All of these are scams. The author saying it, not me. Regardless of their ability to actually deliver their promises, they all fail a simple test. Is the return on investment positive? If you're stuck in a fiat mindset, you may well make a quick buck, but given Bitcoin's extraordinary expected growth, can one really expect to do better than one can do by holding it? Long-term investors should use Bitcoin as their unit of account, and every single investment should be compared to the expected returns of Bitcoin. If Bitcoinization. Hyper-Bitcoinization. Oh, that's a new word for me. And one thing, I want to make a minor adjustment here. It's pretty dark in this meow room. I'm going to make a minor adjustment to my screen size, Oh, there we go. That's much better, much better. Now maybe I won't spend so much time misreading this thing. If hyper-Bitcoinization occurs, Bitcoin holders will see their purchasing power increase by orders of magnitude. Bitcoiners should think twice before throwing away even a couple of millibits toward a project just to see where it goes. A running joke in the community is how expensive the 2 pizzas Laszlo bought were. We joke about $1 million pizza, and hyper-Bitcoinization has not even occurred yet. I praise Laszlo for his entrepreneurial use of a new technology, but I do not wish for myself or others to be a Laszlo. Who wins here? It is not the investor, but the peddler of crypto dreams. Ethereum recently raised $15 million in their Ether sale for an unfinished product. In Bitcoin, of course. There isn't even a product yet, but investors have placed their bets. Ethereum now has over 30,000 Bitcoins destined to be worth unspeakable volumes of wealth, while investors hold worthless hope. Investments are scams because they lead you to believe that you can get a higher return than holding Bitcoin itself, despite the economics of Bitcoin naturally making this an absurd claim in the medium run. In a post-fiat world, there will be plenty of investments that have a greater return and risk than holding Bitcoins, but there'll be assets that generate Bitcoin cash flows. But they don't have to be. If a Bitcoin hoarder wants to reinvest his profits, he need not look further, dude. He need not look further than the Bitcoin network itself. The correct strategy for Bitcoin entrepreneurship, as Daniel has pointed out, is speculative philanthropy. While endless money has been funneled into altcoins, app coins, vaporware, vulnerable third-party services, etc., there are many problems in Bitcoin that still need to be solved through open source development, many of which are low-hanging fruit. By funding these projects, the security, accessibility, and usability of the Bitcoin network will increase. And you forgot will, dude. Thus making it an even better investment. Get coding. Every new Git commit is good news for Bitcoin. Hoarders are scammers. The Bitcoin hoarder is in a constant battle with himself to lower his time preference as much as humanly possible. It's the only way to optimize his Bitcoin holdings. My friends and I joke about starving due to the intense deflation, but I can't say I don't look back and wish I had skipped a couple of lunches in the crappy dorm cafeteria to buy $10 Bitcoins when I had the chance. Bitcoin hoarders are excited about the price rises, but they are also excited when the price is on its way down. Coinbase just months ago was willing to give me a Bitcoin for $1,200, and now they are only asking for $475. Whatever the price, the Bitcoin hoarder thinks to himself, suckers. Bitcoin hoarders are in it for the long run. Their strategy is not to buy low, sell high, but to buy any, sell some highest. They will do anything to get their hands on more Satoshis, and there is nothing that makes them happier than a schmuck giving up the goods after being convinced Bitcoin is worth only whatever to the moon. These sellers have volunteered to hold the fiat shitbag, and hoarders will not be so quick to help them get rid of the stench. Indeed, hoarders are potentially the most dangerous scammers. While merchants and investments are outright with their desire to take your bitcoins, hoarders may not always be so explicit. A person can prove that they have the private key to bitcoins, but they cannot prove they do not. With this in mind, it is possible that any vociferous skeptic's bold assertion is actually a psyop attempting to affect market demand and subsequently the price in their favor. For instance, when Paul Krugman recently, or the Krug as I call him, recently said the long CryptoCon that it's not at all clear whether Bitcoin technology has any economic value. We cannot know with epistemological certainty that Paul Krugman is not a Bitcoin true believer, hoping to get his hands on more and cheaper Bitcoins. Hoarders are scammers because they understand the exponential and very likely growth potential of Bitcoin, yet are willing to convince other Bitcoin holders by any means necessary that the future value to them is probably not much more than the current market price. And you should thank them. Hoarding is what gives money value, and no, you can't have any. And just on that note, new guys to the IRC channel and to Verge Currency in general, I'd just like to take a moment right now and let you know the people on the IRC channel, they are very, very helpful, but do not beg them for coins. You know, we're pretty generous in the old IRC. We'll do some rains now and then and shit, but don't come in there begging. Because if you come in there begging, we'll just shut the torrent off for a little while. We'll wait for you to quit, and then we'll get back to raining. Because that's what we do. You can't have any. Anyway, continuing on. How to end it all. Indeed, Bitcoin scamming is a job that will never be finished. The market-based scams, that is, the ones that don't require fraud, will subside as Bitcoin absorbs the real money supply of all other currencies, when demand for cash begins to decelerate and eventually stabilizes. However, other scammers will always be looking for ways to screw someone out of their Bitcoins. The only way this will be solved is if trusted networks can be built. And dude, you're completely losing me with this one. The only way they can be solved is for you to put it on a fucking paper wallet on a piece of paper and like stash somewhere, because there isn't a hacker on the planet that can hack a fucking piece of paper. Continuing. The only way this will be solved is if trusted networks can be built. As has been said before, Bitcoin is great, but it won't fix our monkey brains. While Bitcoin offers a money with no trusted third party, it can only do so because the ledger is self-referential. The humans actually using it must always be in a mindset of caveat emptor when using Bitcoin. Though payment protocols, webs of trust, smart contracts, GPG contracts, and voting pools, users can mitigate the risk of engaging in various forms of commerce. The only winning move is not to spend. We live in a state of total war. Everyone who holds Bitcoins is trying to get more by scamming others out of theirs or convincing others it's not worth trying to get into. Everyone who does not hold their Bitcoins was either scammed out of them or was scammed from getting into it. Having Bitcoins takes the knowledge and will to know and desire its future, while not having or spending them is lacking one or the other. If you hold Bitcoins, you must take a breath every time you wish to send any to another person. Ask yourself if that person truly deserves untold amounts of your future wealth for pouring you a beer. You may just find the will to hold some more. Hyper-Bitcoinization will not be a force to trifle with. Even a marginal Bitcoin holding right now will constitute a very significant majority of a Bitcoiner's portfolio. Once it happens, there is no going back. One day, your Bitcoin balance will likely never see the decimal point move to the right again. Bitcoin will break for no one on its race down the road from serfdom to global domination. Liberation? Do not give up your seat for anyone else. Scammer is a heuristic, not an accusation. And this was revised on October 7th, 2014. And, yeah, very good article, Michael. Very, very good. I don't agree with the whole trusted networks business, because we got into this to not trust. And, to be able to verify. And that really is the important thing there. So we got to be able to continue to verify. If we ever lose the ability to verify, then the requirement for trust will come back in. And personally, I think that segregated witness and Lightning Network is meant to destroy that. Because if you're processing your transactions on a Lightning Network, unless you're one of the node operators, you don't know all the conditions that are happening or that exist on the funds in that Lightning Network. And so if you've done the transaction on there, shit, it could be like tomorrow, it could be 8 days from now when your transaction actually clears, or the funds have been transitioned and the transaction itself has been logged on the main chain. That's something a lot of these guys just aren't telling you. And you know that this guy, Michael Goldstein, hats off to you, man. The guy said it straight out about the line in there about Bitcoin 2.0. You got these people out there that are trying to convince you that it's going to be oh so wonderful if we 51% attack the network with fucking UASF 148 or BIP 148. You know, they think that's going to be so wonderful to attack the fucking network to get the shit that they want into the coin, despite the fact that it's been 2 years now, and the miners have indicated in known certain terms that the vast majority of them do not want this shit in the coin, do not want to flag support for segregated witness, do not want to flag support for Bitcoin 2.0, because they do not see it as being better than Bitcoin as it is now. That's one way or another. We are going to figure it out that you cannot go against the will of the people that are maintaining the network. You can think you can, and they thought they could with Ethereum, and you watch what happened. You know, they're going through all kinds of problems now that Ethereum Classic isn't facing, although I haven't checked enough into Ethereum Classic to be able to tell whether or not they are maintaining, because from what I understand, there have been several branches off since then, and I don't know. I don't expect that to stop anytime soon, but oh well, that's for the future to decide as well. Anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Michael Goldstein. It's a decent article. You left out a couple words, but otherwise, you know, you should try and read it out loud. But otherwise, the scansion on this is fabulous. Very smooth, transitioned well. I like it. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into a music break here. And I haven't played any Slayer. I'm going to be going to see them in August, and I cannot fucking wait. And so, let's see here. I'm kind of restricted with regard to my selection on that. I only have so many Slayer albums. I've got the Christ Illusion around here someplace, but I haven't uploaded that to my computer. So, like, the latest thing I've got here is Diablos and Musica. And I like Overt Enemy. Perversions of Pain. Here we go. Perversions. Oh, no. Even better. This one's short, but I love this song. It's In the Name of God by Slayer here on Coin Metal. And that was Future Breed Machine off of Destroy Erase Improve by Meshuggah. That's one band that, you know, as a matter of fact, this album was a complete and total impulse buy for me. I talked about this on the show before, where, you know, there was a little strip mall next to where I was working, and actually it wasn't a strip mall, it was a regular mall, when it actually had stores in it. Now it's mostly empty. But anyway, I used to go in there on my lunch breaks and impulse buy books or CDs. And one day I was pilfering through, and I looked at it several times because the album cover looked pretty exciting. And you should never judge anything by the cover, but it just looked interesting. You know, the title of the songs kind of said something to me that, you know, it's like these guys are actually thinking. You know, it's like they're not just jerking me off here. And so anyway, I picked this album up, and when I was listening to the CD, I put it in my CD player as soon as I got in the vehicle. And when I hit play, I literally sat there through the entire song. I was unaware as to whether or not I was breathing or not. I just like got completely sucked in through the earphones there, and was like completely enthralled with this song. And the whole album is like that. It's one of the best produced albums of all time. And the best album, one of the best albums of all time. If you're into metal and you'd really like to know what all the really cutting edge bands, you know, like where they got their inspirato, they either got it from that album or they got it from people that got it from that album. Because that, for 1995, it's still ahead of its time. I mean, if you put it up against, you know, say, Hardwired by Metallica, blow it away. Just blow it completely out of the fucking water. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Metallica because they've been around for so long, but that's, I don't know, I was very hurt when Lars decided to take on the Napster, and but, you know, we can't see the future, you know? And I have to kind of step back from you know, some of my previous opinions concerning Lars Ulrich and Metallica for that reason, is that, you know, they couldn't possibly see what would come from that type of market model. And I think maybe if... you know, maybe if he were a little sober, more sober when he had that decision, or maybe if he was sober, maybe he should have been high. Okay, maybe if he were stoned at the time, you know, he would have thought about it a little bit longer and said, wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me people are listening to our shit in Indonesia? We've never been to that side of the planet. We've never sold a record within 3,000 miles of there. Why the fuck do people want to see us in Indonesia? I mean, like, you know, it should have been like, well, wait a minute. People want to see us in Indonesia. So, you know, I think if we, like, you know, did a little winging and wanging, we could probably, like, go to see that part of the world and they can see us, and that could open up an avenue for more customers. Holy shit. More fans. Wouldn't that be nice? We like fans, right? You know, because that's why we're doing this whole thing, right? Is because we like the fans. We want to entertain them. We want to give them something. But, you know, I mean, again, we can't see the future. We can only see so far into the future. And as far as he was seeing, I'm sure it was like, oh, fuck, we're losing money because, you know, that's potential sales that we could be making. Well, yeah, you know, if you actually had your albums in a fucking record store in Indonesia, I'm sure some motherfucker, if you downloaded it off Napster, would say, wait a minute, I could buy this fucking thing at the record store around the corner? Hell yeah, I'm going to buy it. I never heard this shit before. What the fuck is this about? Sounds pretty good. But I don't know. I guess I'm a dreamer. Because that's the way I look at all this future shit. I mean, I'm not thinking about, you know, how do I keep my neighbors from getting in on this? I'm thinking about, fuck, if my neighbors are in on this, then it'll become more valuable. Fuck yeah. Anyway, we've talked a lot about regulation and whatnot. And you know what? Fuck this website. I was going to read this article, but fuck these people. The shit keeps reloading in the back, and as a matter of fact, it seized control of my entire monitor at one point. So, no, fuck them. I'm not even gonna. No. Fuck them and their fucking bullshit. I hate that. You know, we got out of fucking 1997. And the prevailing opinion was, no, I do not want pop-ups fucking occupying my goddamn desktop. Pretty sure we got that through to you. Time to reverse course on that shit. Anyway, started off this episode by wanting to talk about Ethereum and ICOs. And I got a whole shit ton of fucking tabs, and I was going to read that article, but, you know, like I said, the fucking thing just kept loading and loading and loading, and then one time it took over my monitor. No. I find that to be a shiesty business practice. And if you're going to do that shit to me, fuck you. You will not get my reading your fucking article on my show. Anyway, we are going to talk about an ICO that I believe it's coming out recently, or has come out, or I don't know. I think it got a little money recently. This Bancor thing. And this is by Albert David Stone. And yeah, here we go. How Bancor will change the world. It is just about time that Bancor will provide the solution for one of the most critical problems in cryptocurrency: liquidity. Many of us had heard about Mt. Gox and how Albert, you really should have read this fucking thing aloud, dude. It was handling over 70% of all Bitcoin transactions worldwide as the largest Bitcoin intermediary and the world's leading Bitcoin exchange. And later, they filed for bankruptcy because reportedly more than 850,000 Bitcoins were missing. Jesus Christ, dude. You're killing me. You left out the word "were" in there. The reasons were still unclear, leaving many people feel Never mind. Fuck you, Albert. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. If I can't make it through the second paragraph of your fucking article without wanting to stab your editor, I'm not going to fucking read it. Bye-bye. God damn it. Dude, it's... I am so thankful. And they even told me I'd be fucking thankful. I hate them for that. God damn it. When I was in high school, I had people that actually cared if I knew how to write and communicate in a written text format with my hand with other people. And they made sure that I could compose a complete and coherent sentence. And so when I see shit that is put up on a website, I am expecting a couple things. Number one, I'm expecting that it's properly punctuated. Number two, I'm expecting that you've actually read your fucking article and you've applied the proper tense and didn't just copy and paste a bunch of shit together. Because, dude, give me a fucking break. I would have caught that. I would have caught that without even reading it aloud. I did catch that before I even read it. That's why we're not reading your fucking article, dude. Fuck you, Albert. Read your shit. Anyway. Now, the International Business Times was the website that was loading a bunch of fucking bullshit. I do have another article concerning Bancor, and it is on International Business Times. I do have the fucking thing muted because it insisted on playing this fucking video without asking me, which offends me. If I want to watch the fucking video, I will press play. I do not want it to auto-load. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure I've got that set off on my browser specifically. So anyway, International Business Times, fuck you. This is written by Lei Sun. I'm assuming no penis. Bancor ICO explodes cryptocurrency networks under attack. Several Bitcoin networks experienced cyber attacks and outages in the past week, including the Russian cryptocurrency exchange BTC-E, as cryptocurrency prices skyrocketed. CNBC reported Ethereum's Ether tokens traded for around $400 each on Monday, up 5,000% since January. The blockchain startup Bancor said in a statement on Monday, widespread outages were caused by overwhelming demand and traffic and massive malicious attacks. However, the details of Bancor's initial coin offering glitches are unclear. A Reddit user argued avoidable technical issues, not hackers, could be the driving force behind network failures. Read Coinbase status, blah blah blah. We might read that one too. I'll go ahead and open that in another tab. Either way, the hitches with Bancor's ICO may have a silver lining. Because of it, they extended the window for investors to buy ICO tokens. CoinDesk reported that Bancor ICO set a record by raising $153 million in Ether from around 10,885 buyers. Billionaire venture capitalist Tim Draper participated in the ICO and joined the Bancor advisory board, the startup blog said. Let's see here. Blah. Bancor BNT fundraiser live, and this is actually a tweet on this article here. BNT fundraiser live, massive attacks on network, reports of Ethereum transactions pending. All who try to get in will be accepted. Stay home. Yet, complaints about erroneous transactions still abound, and some buyers are outraged. It is still unclear how or if the malfunction could impact the value of their tokens. How can we trust anything Bancor says now? A Slack user wrote on Bancor's public channel. Twitter users also complained one of the world's biggest Bitcoin exchange markets, Coinbase, was down again Monday after a similar outage in May. Like previous outages, the current glitches happened during a market spike as online traders rushed to cryptocurrency exchanges. CNBC reported Bitcoin and Ether both reached record high heights this week, with Bitcoin going for $3,000 at its peak. Although blockchain currency networks are still in their infancy, they often attract hackers just like established banks and financial institutions. For example, the Bitcoin exchanges Kraken and Poloniex both suffered similar denial of service cyber attacks in May. A report by the cybersecurity forum NexusGuard said the frequency of DDoS attacks by hackers increased 380% during the first quarter of 2017. Many cryptocurrency companies don't have comparable security budgets to deal with hackers the way traditional financial institutions do. However, Coinbase may prove to be the exception. CBS News reported this Bitcoin exchange is enjoying a $1 billion valuation, putting it on the same tier with startups like Uber and Pinterest. Outraged Twitter users criticized Coinbase on Monday, flooding the social network with screenshot complaints about how the company handled this widespread network crisis so far. Pretty scary. I don't see my wallets, and your website claims mobile app is operational. Blah, blah, blah. An errors occurred. Whatever. Please, for the love of God, fix this. Oh, yeah. And so that's the end of it. Well, it's to be expected. You know, I think all this ICO stuff and Ethereum in general, I think they are biting off a bit more than they can chew at this point. You know, I don't know if they're really delivering on their promises, or if they're just riding this huge chunk of BTC they're holding. I mean, 40,000 is a lot of fucking coins, you know. I mean, that'd keep me alive for, I don't know, at least a decade. But that'd be some hard living for that decade. I think I'd be living like part-time on the moon or something like that. Anyway, I don't know. ICOs, Bancor, well, we will be venturing further into this. And this is actually the Reddit thing. And I'm kind of interested in it, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one. It's relatively short. And then we'll go ahead and flip back to music real quick and launch back into this bad stuff. Bancor ICO issues so far, and this was who wrote this fucking thing? I guess it's Tezos, Tezos. Please take notes and learn from Bancor ICO mess. Bancor ICO issues so far that I'm aware of, and there it is. It's by Dr. Hex 2C. Bancor, this is number 1. Bancor decided to implement in the contract a 200,000 gas limit, not the default on most wallets. Mist Wallet won't allow users on some computers to set the gas limit, even if you try clicking the underlying gas limit. Number 2. Bancor set a cap on 50 GWEI gas price, which is about the average when the network is flooded. Some wallets, i.e. Mist, don't reference GWEI anywhere, and instead gas price is set in Ether units, and probably many users didn't understand that all their transactions above the 50 GWEI limit were being rejected. This in part flooded the Ethereum network with transactions that are high priority, but which the Bancor contract rejects, and users get their Ether back, minus the gas they spent on the network. Some people reporting losing hundreds of dollars in various attempts. Number 3. Bancor falsely accuses that the Ethereum network is under attack when it's just their contract rejecting transactions with higher than 50 GWEI transaction fees. Number 4. My Ether wallet stopped working. Not exactly sure why, for many users. Number 5. Bancor website stopped reporting within minutes how many USD was collected or BNT tokens issued. Website issues. Number 6. After MEW and Mist, people reporting issues plus supposed attack on the network, they extended investment window with no cap by another 2 hours, total 3 instead of 1. Eventually, they posted their cap on website at 92.5 million USD. However, shortly after extended time, they collected $140 million USD and counting, with another hour to go. Now, original investors within the 1 hour time limit of no cap are pissed as their investments are diluted. They may be in violation of their own contract terms as a result. Number 7. After about 2 hours, the Bancor website became unresponsive altogether, probably DDoS, against website. Make sure you protect your website. Most of these issues could have been avoided if they had done much better QA against all Ethereum wallets and provided step-by-step instructions. They provided them, but instructions not sufficiently clear. Also, don't assume your investors know how to tweak gas limits and price and other complex parameters that are anything but the default. Also, various people were confused on how to see their Bancor ERC20 tokens in the various wallets. Some require manual configuration, but no instructions provided. This resulted in some people sending additional transactions. Edit. head over to Reddit Bancor to see what I'm talking about, and we may just do that. Also read Bancor comments on various tweets. We may just do that as well. If somebody has published an actual article, we may do that. Edit 2. Also, I'd like to suggest that your 20 million fundraiser / donation ideal is going to be more like 200 million to 500 million. So no moon or Mars shot. Get ready to exit the Milky Way, or better yet, address this somehow. Yeah. Let's see what the comments have to say on that. Because that's pretty damning information right there. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm looking at the Bancor Reddit here. Number 2 is Bancor are in violation of their terms and conditions. And that one's got 113 comments. Terms changed during the ICO. I've seen it all now. Dude, these guys split their own network. What the fuck? What did you expect? I mean, I've even tweeted that, that you knew that they were capable and willing of altering the parameters of their fucking contractual obligations at their will. They've already demonstrated a will to do this. But anyway, the first one though is the extension bought me enough time to participate in the fundraising. This is better than BAT. But let's check this Bancor in violation of their T's and C's. Oh man. Oh, we're gonna dive into this on the other side of a music break, because I think there's some stuff we should probably read here. And we're going to do it. Anyway, I think this one's kind of appropriate. Metallica, Master of Puppets, here on Coin Metal. And that was The Threat Is Real by Megadeth. And that's off their latest album, Dystopia, which I believe they are still currently touring for at the moment. And, just to show that I'm not fudding on this show. My purpose in doing this is not to FUD against Ethereum, really. And as I'd indicated before, I really do tip my hat to anybody giving a try in this radical world we call Cryptosphere, or the Cryptosphere. But there's always going to be those possibilities for issues. And of course, scammery, flim-flammery, man, it happens. And if you've been around for any duration of time, you know this. You know this, man. And so, anyway, I saw this thing on my Twitter feed, and it doesn't seem as fuddish. So I want to go ahead and throw it out there, because, again, I want to try and give a balanced view of this, because the purpose of the show is not to FUD other projects, but to try and comment, maybe give some observations, try to inform people a little bit better about the propositions that they're wanting to throw money at. Anyway, here we go. And this was by It's a Conspiracy. A Bancor contract is a ERC20 token which holds one or more other tokens or Ethereum. Let's say we have a fruit contract that contains apples and oranges. You can deposit either apples or oranges and get fruit. You can also redeem your fruit and get either apples or oranges. Your choice. So if you want to trade your apples for oranges, you can deposit the apples to get fruit and redeem your fruit to get oranges. The value of the fruit contract is the sum of the value of its apples and oranges. If it has twice as many apples as oranges, then it works out so that you can trade in one orange and get 2 apples. So you can tell by the ratio what the relative price is. if people think the prices are out of whack, they'll make trades and the ratios will change, and then the price will be accurate again. So it gives you two things. Number one, you can trade stuff around any time without needing to match buyers and sellers, since you're trading against the reserves in the contract. No fees, no spread. Though, if you trade so much you throw the ratios off significantly, you lose some value that way. Number two, if you hold the fruit token, it's like holding an ETF on fruit that balances itself to keep 50% of its value in apples and 50% in oranges. I'd like to know how they do that. That's the basic technology, and it's open source. I can't think of a good reason it won't make exchanges obsolete, even beyond crypto. Bancor is attempting to add a token holding Ethereum, which has a sort of multiplier effect. So instead of being worth the Ethereum it contains, it has a multiplier that increases as more Ethereum is deposited. And they hope to add transaction fees for contracts that don't hold their special token. I'm skeptical about all that, but the core tech is wonderful. And so that was a positive perspective. However, and this goes to the original author of this, how can you ascertain the value of something that you do not know the total value of existing? So, like, if you don't know how many of the how many Bancor tokens are actually going to be in this particular fund, okay, or the relative value changes of the US dollars. Like if you're including some sort of token or whatever in your mechanism that is traded outside, then the relative value of the underlying assets will change. So how exactly will you be able to do this 50% this and 50% that if you're talking about currencies and commodities and other tokens that are actually traded out on the global market? It's like your analogy here with apples and oranges. You're assuming that the apples and oranges only exist within your contract. And if that's the case, then okay, you'll be able to manage that 50-50 ratio. If you're within a specified market, okay, you can do that. But if you're introducing into that market monetary value that's normally transacted in another vehicle, then the relative value of the units in your contract is going to change along with the relative value, along with the real world value. And so that's going to throw your ratios off. And that is why I'm against the derivatization like this, okay? It's wonderful if you're only working with your own shit, okay? As soon as you start including other people's shit as a signatory of value or something like that in your whole scheme, you're facing a world of danger. And just I'm putting it out there. It's already been hit before. It will be hit again. You will find out. You're entering into a world of danger. It's why it's the same exact reason I talk about how you cannot peg a cryptocurrency to a commodity like gold or silver or anything. You can't do it. You can think about it and you can think about how wonderful it is, but you can't do it. Invariably, somewhere along the line, somebody is going to get fucked. Somebody's going to get fucked out of their silver. Somebody's going to get fucked out of the value of their token. Somebody's going to get fucked. That's all there is to it. And it's because you cannot contain in your market the entirety of the world market. And there are a multitude of other factors. You know, the primary one being that the relative value of all of the commodities and all of the tokens and all that other shit that's being transacted is the US dollar, is the Federal Reserve note, because we don't actually transact in US dollars anymore. Look at the notes. They don't say US dollars, they say Federal Reserve notes. Point being that is a big fucking question mark. If that is your metric of exchange that you're evaluating everything in, that thing in and of itself is a big fucking question mark. You don't know how many of them there are. You do not know how fast the Fed is printing them, and you do not know who holds what with regard to them. I mean, you can look at people's financials and stuff, but you can't tell how much they have in liquid assets and how much they have in solid assets. And again, you can review their books and you can audit until the break of day, but chances are they probably are hodling something, whether it be gold or silver or something like that, and adding it in their valuation. Point being, you just can't do it. You cannot do it. You can think about it, but Congress can't even get a fucking audit of the Fed. All right, if Congress can't get an audit of the Fed, how the fuck are you going to use it as a metric of exchange? I mean, I've said it a million times on this show that what you're looking at with regard to the price of a cryptocurrency in US dollars, you're looking at an exchange rate. It is temporary, an exchange rate. You're not looking at a price. You're looking at an exchange rate. It's ephemeral. It's at this very moment. It's not tomorrow. It's not 10 years from now. It's right now. And that's all that you can account for with it. So again, when we're talking about pegging fiat currencies to cryptocurrencies, forget about it. These are supposed to be independent measures of value. You're supposed to be able to look at the hashing power, look at the number of coins that are out there, look at the number of coins that are going to be into existence, and how fast they are actually issued. And you can determine the relative value of them based on, hardware expenses, electricity, bandwidth, so on and so forth, size of the network. All of those metrics are plainly available. Now, what really needs to be happening, though, is a proper valuation of our actual efforts. Like this show. I do it for relatively free, but when you look at the commercial value of it for, say, the bands that I play, it actually may represent something to them. I have no way of knowing. I don't really care. I mean, I think it'd be cool if more people listen to them, but, it's as much to give me a break as it is for me to enlighten my people. But the value, I'm sure, at some point or another will be made apparent to me. I guess the point I'm trying to get to is that you can use Bitcoin as currency. You can use it as a trading vehicle, and you can buy and sell things with it. Now, in terms of its relative value to fiat currencies, it's always going to be increasing over time. This is because fiat currencies are not issued deterministically. They are issued by somebody waving a fucking magic wand and adding some zeros at the end of the balance sheet and printing up a bunch of paper. Okay? That doesn't actually create any value. It actually subtracts value from the existing coins, whether they be, Federal Reserve notes or yen or whatever. And that's, again, because you cannot know the total volume of these, or how quickly they're being created or whatnot, you can't properly evaluate them against cryptocurrencies. Now, you could value your labor against cryptocurrencies. If you were willing to exchange the 8 hours that you do at work every day for Bitcoin instead of US dollars or whatever it is that you typically get paid in, how much value is it to you to be there? Because you're selling 8 hours of your day to somebody else. What's that worth in Bitcoin? I think we can find that out. When we look at the amount of available liquidity going out there, and the number of coins that have been issued. We already know the rate of issue. And so finding out how much your labor is actually worth is relatively easy. And in addition to that, what I think is really missed in these discussions is how we can change how we value our actual contribution to a company. See, I know that when I was working at, say, HMT, I was kicking ass. I was doing the work of like 4, 5, 6 people every night. Okay? And you can find some of the D-shifters from when I worked there, and they'll tell you straight out, I busted ass. Not looking for any recognition there, just saying. Point being that my hourly rate should have been way higher because I was creating way more value than any 4 people around me. So my cut of the total net profit should have been a lot higher because I was contributing more value. I was making more value for the company. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people actually fear, because the other 6 people looking around, watching me bust my ass and shit, they would be completely assed out. They would be getting like 1/6 of what I'm getting. Well, you know what? If that's all the fucking harder you're willing to work, that's what you get. That's how it should work. And that's one of the things that cryptocurrencies make possible, because for years we've been using what they call statistical process control to determine the flow rate of your product from one end to the other, to the end point. From the beginning to the end, you can guesstimate how long your process is going to take from your raw materials to your end product based on the estimated time it's going to spend at each process step. And by statistically averaging it out, what you can do is locate what they call bottlenecks, places where the product is going at slower rates. So maybe you've got a process, maybe 3 process steps in, that takes 12 hours, whereas everything around it takes about 8 hours. And so you've got to figure out how to break up your process to where that's a smooth flow, to where it goes 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, not 8 hours, 12 hours, 8 hours, because that's just going to fuck you up. Because your people downstream are going to be waiting an additional 4 hours of process time that's being wasted. So you have to expand your production capacity at that step in order to make the flow go regular. So now, when you've got that capability of monitoring your entire production step, now what you can also do is look within that unit, and everybody has their little IDs, right, of every time they log some product in. So if they're the guy like me and they're doing like 4 times as much work as the people around them, you can tell that by looking at their logs. What lots they logged in on, because they'll be logging in 4 times as many lots as everybody else. And so paying them appropriately, according to their actual contribution to the company, is entirely possible. And cryptocurrencies enable us to do that down to the microsecond, because we go to 8 decimal places, baby. 8. Think about that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go into one last music break. One last one. And then we will cover one more, maybe 2 more articles about Mr. Ethereum and the stuff that I had previously planned on reading and might actually get to tonight. And, I've been dying to play some 9 Inch Nails. I don't know what it is. Every time I keep breezing over Mr. Self-Destruct, it's sticking out to me. So here it is. It's got to be Mr. Self-Destruct by 9 Inch Nails here on Coin Metal. And that was Prong with get a grip on yourself. There's this one line in there I love. Searcher from another planet, welcome to our hole. Strap on your guitar and we'll play some rock and roll. That's so fucking awesome. I love that. So anyway, we were talking a little bit about the impossibility of combining physical commodities, actual physical commodities, and cryptocurrencies. And lo and behold, we have an article written 3 hours ago by Shivdeep Dalawal. Apparently Shivdeep does have a penis. Oh well. We're not keeping count here. Orocrypt to add stability of gold to cryptocurrencies. I can't wait. Gold is a component of a diversified portfolio and can help protect investors against adverse market conditions in traditional investments like equities and debt. Gold also admittedly has its own fan following and attracts a class of investors known as gold bugs. Yet as an investment, holding physical gold has always been troublesome. The fact that it needs to be stored in a safe place so that it can't be stolen, misplaced, or robbed has always been an issue. There's also the question of how to buy and sell gold with the assuredness that it is pure. Selling gold requires time, energy, and effort, and thus the liquidity of gold is certainly less than cash. Now, however, Panama-based... Oh, shit. Panama. Little red flag there. Panama-based company Orocrypt is creating a crypto alternative that will enable easier trading, holding, and investing in precious metals, including gold. Orocrypt is putting precious metals on the blockchain. Orocrypt is all set to launch an equity token followed by a gold token in October, where each token will be representative of 30 grams of LBMA quality gold. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. This token will be fully backed up by physical gold, which will be stored safely and will be audited. The token will not be fully convertible into physical gold at the demand of the investor, but also compatible with all Ethereum wallets. Orocrypt is thus bringing precious metals to the blockchain. The company has built robust mechanisms surrounding this process, with gold being stored at diverse geographical locations like my backyard, like the Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Hong Kong, and the auditing will be carried out by Société Générale de Surveillance SA. Like I give a rat's ass. Orocrypt ICO all set to roll out. The initial coin offer of the OROC token, which represents common shares in Orocrypt Inc. and gives the token holder rights and privileges akin to shareholders, will begin on June 14th, 2017. Only 45% of Class A tokenized shares are being sold, so that means there are only 500,000 out of a total of 1,112 tokens up for grabs. The price of each share is, I guess that's €9, and these shares are of a non-divisible nature, which means there will be no shares in decimal points. If during the token issue the investor funds set to Orocrypt are in excess of multiples of 9, the fraction will be donated to certain charities. Like me. Investors are eligible for a 5% discount on the token price in the first week of the ICO, and in the second week, 2% discount is available. Voice of Industry Experience. The people behind Orocrypt each have more than 30 years of experience in large international investment banks, insurance, and leisure groups. Alexandra D. Gousted, the founder and CEO, has held a distinguished banking career and has also been a member of the Board of Trustees of the Global Association of Risk Professionals, GARP. She has also been an independent financial consultant since 2003. Darlene Hart, the CFO, founded U.S. Tax and Financial Services Ltd., Switzerland in 1986 and is an expert on matters related to cross-border tax and compliance. Jose Antonio de la Cerda is the is the CEO of Grupo Futuro, a prestigious Ecuadorian insurance and leisure group since 2005, supervising the boards of 11 companies with a combined income of $450 million as of 2016. Margaret Bentham, director of Orocrypt, is the co-founder of Onlime Group and has more than 30 years of experience in international investments. Real physical gold sets Orocrypt apart. Doesn't it always? Digitized gold is not a new idea. At the moment, it is possible to invest in gold equity traded funds. However, Orocrypt is unique, as it will offer a new approach to gold ownership. We talked with Alejandra de Gustad, the CEO of Orocrypt, and she tells us, the Orocrypt business model consists of digitizing assets, whilst a gold ETF is an exchange-traded fund that tracks the price of gold. ETF investors cannot take delivery of their share of ETF gold reserves. They benefit from the gold price movement. Orocrypt is a company that will provide its clients with digitized assets in the form of Ethereum tokens as proof of ownership. Our first token will be a digitized gold vault receipt for 30 grams of fine gold. In the near future, we plan to digitize receipts of silver and platinum. Further down the line, we plan to digitize other asset classes, such as portfolios of a mix of cryptocurrencies and precious metals. These portfolios will be managed quantitatively in order to produce the maximum return for a given risk. Oh my fuck. Hey, let's put some of this money in Paycoin. Interestingly, the CEO also revealed that it is possible to directly take delivery of physical gold. Clients can receive gold in person or at their registered address as long as they are ready to bear the delivery costs. The only caveat being that physical gold will not be sent out by Orocrypt to non-registered addresses or released to third parties, making gold and cryptocurrencies more accessible and usable. Can cryptocurrencies backed by gold and other assets one day be widely used as a medium of payment? Will digital assets decide the value of what the value of a cryptocurrency is? Orocrypt thinks this may be the case in the future. Gousted tells Cointelegraph, "We are neither the first nor the only ones offering some sort of digitized precious metals. Although our gold tokens have properties that made them different than others available on the market, in our view, this is good for everyone. We welcome the existence of these competitors. Our chances of success would be less if we were the first or the only ones. The precious metals market is so big that there is ample space for many participants. All of us are contributing to making these products more known and accepted. We further believe that asset digitization could be a significant part of the crypto ecosystem, one of the reasons being their lower volatility. These fucking people are crazy. Certainly bringing stable assets to the crypto universe is an interesting idea, and there are future plans for Orocrypt as well to broaden their horizons. Although the company operating from Panama at the moment can't take U.S. persons as clients, in the future they want to explore their options worldwide, including the United States. The CEO of Orocrypt says, depending on our future clients' locations, we may establish subsidiaries in those places where we could offer a better service to our clients. We also plan to set up a subsidiary in the U.S. to service the U.S. market. I'm sorry, man. I really tried very hard to get through that without laughing my ass off, but it was difficult. These fucking people are crazy. You cannot do what they're proposing to do. You can't do it. I don't care. I mean, they say it specifically in this fucking article that there are multiple people doing this, right? So, we already know that the amount of gold certificates that are out there versus the amount of actual physical above ground, the ratio is incalculable. It's like, I want to say it's like 1,000 to 1. Okay, so there's a shit ton of people claiming ownership to a finite amount of gold already. So, how many of these cryptocurrency people that are making all these whiz-bang claims about gold, how many of them are looking at the same guy's fucking gold? I mean, big whoop-de-doo, you got a fucking camera feed to the gold, but yahoo! It's my gold, it's my gold! Until you actually try and claim ownership. And then they'll delay, and then they'll delay, and they'll backpedal, and they'll reset some goalposts, adjust the valuation of your underlying Ethereum tokens, but you're never going to get your fucking goal. I can tell you that straight out. You're never going to get your gold out of these fucking Orocrypt people. Or your platinum, or your silver, or any of the other commodities that they intend to peg to their fucking crypto token. I mean, this is like, I don't know, this kind of thing is going to, it's going to stink the fuck out of Ethereum, okay? I don't care what their claims are. They don't have the fucking gold, and they won't have the silver, and they won't have the platinum or any of the other commodities that they claim to have ownership of, or that they claim to be able to issue tokens in the value of, or whatever. They're never going to be able to deliver. I can almost guarantee you. And really, when you consider the places that this is going to be set up, Liechtenstein, Panama, Switzerland, these are all people, these are all places that have limited extradition capability in the event that these motherfuckers abscond with your humble donations, because that's what they are at this point. I'm telling you, they don't have the fucking gold. You're not going to get your gold. Don't give them your fucking money. Don't give them your crypto. But that's just my opinion. It sounds like they have a wonderful presentation. They probably have a decent website. Let's check their website out. Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Oh yeah, when the Ethereum blockchain meets the precious metals, it should say meets precious metals. Oh, and they've got a fucking little chat bot. Oh, go fuck yourself. Oh, let's see what the documents have to say. Oh, prospectus. Oh, wait, they even have a white paper. In English, no less. If it's not too long, we might actually read it. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, we got about 25 minutes. Like I said, if it's not too long, we might actually read this thing. Let's see how big this fucking thing is. It's got... how many pages? Oh, it's got a really big font. We can say that much for it. So, it's only 11 pages. We can fucking eat this thing and spit it out at the end. Fuck it. We will. We're going to assimilate Orocrypt. And so, and this is, by the way, an Ethereum byproduct or whatever. I mean, Ethereum is involved in some form or fashion, or tokenization or some shit. So May 16, 2017 was the authorship date of this bad boy. Company background. Orocrypt Inc. is a company incorporated in the Republic of Panama. Panama! I wish I had that Van Halen song so I could have it playing in the background. Under registration number 155646372, Orocrypt will comply with all Panamanian regulations concerning precious metals merchants as established by the Sujetos Obligados no financieros of the Ministry of Economy and Finance. An investment in the company will give an opportunity to participate in the asset digitization market from its inception. The investment is risky. There is no assurance that digitized precious metals will appeal to investors or that governments will not pass legislation that would make digitized assets illegal. On the other hand, there is the potential for very high profits if adverse risks do not materialize. Concept. Currently, those who have already direct investments in bullion precious metals hold them as jewelry in a vault in their name, in a vault receipt document, in a bank safety deposit box, or in their homes in safes, etc. Indirect precious metals investments can be held in gold, platinum, or silver ETF shares or in the futures market. Orocrypt aims to provide an alternative to the above by offering a method of recording precious metals ownership that is simple, liquid, secure, and transparent. Orocrypt Inc. Token shares. Orocrypt Inc. is offering for sale 500,000 Class A tokenized shares representing 45% of the total company's equity. This gives you, the investor, ownership in Orocrypt, with each token being sold at €9. God damn it, I wish they would document that properly. Euro 9. €9 on a first come, first served basis. Orocrypt Inc. First product, gold tokens. After the sale of Orocrypt Inc. share tokens, or OROC, the company will issue tokens representing the ownership of 30 grams of LBMA quality gold in the final quarter of 2017. These tokens will provisionally be referred to as Orocrypt Gold Tokens, ORO.G. They will be registered on the Ethereum blockchain, and owners will be able to store them in Ethereum wallets. Like any other ERC ETH-20 token, they will be transferable and thus tradable on open markets. Additionally, holders can convert them into physical gold through a very simple and transparent redemption procedure. In the event of bankruptcy or closure of Orocrypt, holders of ORO.G may withdraw, sell, or claim underlying gold from Orocrypt or directly from custodial storage vaults. The specifics of these processes would be communicated to all token holders in a clear and concise manner. It is important to emphasize that because purchases of ORO.G does not grant ownership to the company under any circumstances, ORO.G holders are not exposed to Orocrypt's liabilities. And I'm sure they are many. And scroll. The gold market. Gold has long been valued for its distinctive investment benefits. Although gold is no longer the basis of the international monetary system, its status as a bastion of stability has endured, a role which has become ever more important in today's uncertain environment. Over the years, gold's reputation for safety and stability has made it a mainstay for investors seeking to safeguard the long-term value of their capital. Not least central banks around the world, which consider gold to be the ultimate wealth preservation tool. The reasons for this are clear. First, gold exhibits little or no correlation with most other asset classes, making it a powerful tool for investment diversification. Second, gold has no credit risk and derives its worth from intrinsic value, allowing it to be the ultimate safe haven asset during these times of market stress. Of course, no note to the actual physical nature of it. The annual total supply of gold has averaged around 4,000 tons over the last 10 years. While many will be aware that gold is sourced from the earth through mining, this is not the only way in which gold is supplied to the market. Total mine supply, which is the sum of mine production and net producer hedging, accounts for 2/3 of the total supply. Recycled gold accounts for the remaining third. Because gold is virtually indestructible, nearly all of the gold ever mined still exists. At the end of 2015, there were over 186,700 tons of stocks in existence above the ground. It is recoverable from most of its uses and capable of being melted down, re-refined, and reused. Recycled gold therefore plays an important part in the dynamics of the gold market. While gold mine production is relatively inelastic, the gold recycling industry provides an easily traded supply of gold when it is needed, thereby helping to stabilize the gold price. Gold value. The Incas believed that gold was the sweat of the sun, that it attracted power and wealth, and that those who owned gold would never be poor. Gold is a precious metal that has been used since antiquity to make coinage, jewelry, vessels, and sculptures. It is beautiful, easily worked, and, because it does not corrode, has endured as a symbol of immortality, stability, and power. The great civilizations of Sumer, Egypt, and Rome have all been and gone, as have the Spanish and British empires, but the allure of gold remains. We have no projections on the future price of gold, nor we advise on the merits of investing in gold. What we do know is that gold is a precious metal that has been valuable for 6,000 years. You decide whether gold is good for you. Till a big-ass meteor falls and is full of gold. Wow, this is really important, I think. I'm not sure if I'm actually pronouncing this correctly, but I guess it's important to somebody. Sharia compliance. The AAOIFI Sharia standard on gold can help to solve the growth constraints facing Islamic finance. Orocrypt will apply to be certified as compliant with Sharia finance requirements. Gold has a deep and historical connection with Islamic civilizations. Oh, you mean like Libya's store of gold that got raided after their government was overtaken? However, the complex treatment of gold in Islamic tradition has limited its development as an investment asset class. Yeah, because we keep toppling governments that try to do that. Gold is one of the 6 ribawi items alongside silver, wheat, dates, barley, and salt. Ribawi items are defined as staple, everyday commodities, so stringent transaction rules apply to prevent injustice or inequality between transacting parties. There is also a long-standing debate about whether gold is a currency or a commodity, making the design of consistent Sharia rules for modern gold products more difficult. The complexity of Islamic attitudes toward gold products has led to a scattered and fragmented set of rulings. This lack of uniformity is a major impediment to the development of gold financial products in Islamic finance. Creating harmonized and authoritative Sharia guidance for gold is imperative. Therefore, if the asset class is to become more widely accepted by Islamic investors. Yeah. Part 1. The share token sale. Capital. The total of authorized and issued capital is divided into 1,112,000 shares. Class A, 845,118. Each share of Class A common stock is entitled to 1 vote per share. Class B, 266,882. Each share of Class B common stock is entitled to 10 votes per share and is convertible at any time into 1 share of Class A common stock. These common shares were distributed to the company founders. No additional Class B shares will be created after initial issuance, and they will convert to Class A shares upon sale to anyone outside the initial group of founders. The rights of the holders of Class A common stock and Class B common stock are identical except with respect to voting and conversion. Both classes have identical economic benefits. In the event of the company's merger, sale, or IPO, each Class B share will be automatically converted into 1 Class A share. Therefore, the price per share received in these scenarios will be the same for both classes of shares. Likewise, in the event of a declaration of dividends, both classes of shares will be entitled to the same dividend per share. So what will be the advantage then, I wonder? Only tokens representing Class A shares will be available for purchase through the token sale. The offering. Orocrypt is offering for sale 500,000 tokenized Class A shares at a price of €9 each. These amount to 45% of the total company's equity. Each share will be tokenized into 1 Orocrypt Inc. share token, OROC. Orocrypt Inc. will apply for listing the share tokens, OROC, in exchanges. The starting date of the share token sale is June 14th, 2017, and it will last for 1 month or until all share tokens are sold, whichever comes first. They will be sold on a first-come, first-served basis. Participation in the purchase of Orocrypt share tokens, OROC, equates ownership rights in proportion to the number of shares purchased. Any further shares issued after the closing date of the share token sale will be for additional capital raises. Additional shares cannot be issued without further fundraising efforts for capital injection. Share token sale duration. The minimum number of share tokens to be sold in the share token sale is 133,500 and the maximum is 500,000. The share token sale will close at the earliest 31 calendar days from launching date or the sale of 500,000 share tokens. In the event that less than 133,500 tokens are sold after 31 days, the sale will be terminated and the funds will be returned to investors. Yeah, right. Registration. In order to buy share tokens, each investor will need to register. We cannot allow participation of U.S. persons. All eligible participants will be required to provide information in line with our anti-money laundering and know your customer regulations. The collection of details will be conducted through web forms in the registration interface with the amount of information required verifying according to the size of investment. A. Investments of less than 5,000 euros, name, address, email, telephone. Prior to receiving the tokens, the clients must send proof of identification by uploading a scan or photograph. Acceptable documents are passport, national registration document, or driving license. We're number 6 into this thing, and I think there's some pictures, so it'll be quick. Oh, Jesus. You know, I'm not going to go through all this shit. We're damn near to the end of this thing, and I need a roundup. You know, this thing is, from what I can read so far, it's a shit scam, and you're going to get scammed and fucked out of your money. But, you know, fortunately for us, we reach an international audience. So, you know, maybe people will, living in these jurisdictions where this thing will actually be legal for release, i.e. Panama, and a few other places, I guess, Liechtenstein and Switzerland. Yeah, you know, caveat emptor, invest at your own risk. This thing just reads scamalicious. I mean, I've gone through a few of these now, and they all promise the same fucking thing. That they can combine a cryptocurrency with a physical commodity. And that your cryptocurrency note is going to be better than all of the other claims to that gold, and it's going to be honored better than all of those other claims on that gold. And I can almost guarantee you that you will never get your fucking gold. Never. They don't have it. They don't have access to it. They're talking about recycled gold. What happens if somebody else horns in on their supply before it gets to them? Oh, fuck. Now we're completely fucked. We don't have gold backing. The fucking video cameras are on somebody else's gold. And it's all found out like 2 years from now, after this thing is like a major part of Ethereum's portfolio of ICO cryptocurrencies. And you got like 30 other fucking ICOs on the same in Ethereum that are looking at the same pile of fucking gold. They all got their cameras pointed at the same pile of gold. Yeah, sure, it's there. But you will never be able to cash it out. You will never be able to cash out your fucking token to get the gold. You'll be able to cash your token out for fucking Ethereum. You'll be able to cash your token out for euros, maybe. But you will never get your fucking gold. You're going to have to like maybe take a 50% hit on the value of your fucking ICO stock. And if you get that money back, you're going to get it in the fucking the denominated coin, whatever it was. You bought it in euro, fucking yen, yuan, whatever it was. And that's it. You know, you're going to be lucky if you don't get 50% ass rape tax. And that's all I got to say about Orocrypt. But, you know, again, it's not necessarily indicative of everything that is Ethereum. But you have to wonder. And, you know, you have to use these things, this information, as a way to determine whether or not this is actually a viable investment for you. You know, and my only hope is that people will actually hear this and will say, gosh, you know, this doesn't sound like a good place for my money. Because, in all honesty, you cannot, and I do not give a fuck what metric you use, you cannot combine a physical commodity with a cryptocurrency. It cannot be done. It can't be done. Somebody will tell you they can. Somebody will swear on 1,000,000 Bibles or Korans or whatever the fuck you believe in that they'll do that. But they cannot deliver. They can't. I'm sorry. Hate to burst your bubble. They cannot. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close this out with a little bit of Slipknot. Everything Ends. That will be our final dance for tonight. I want to thank you all very much for listening. I really do appreciate the support. It does seem to be growing out there. And, you know, my axioms are as follow. Trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Thank you very much again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening.